Call to order a regular meeting for the Normal Town Council for April 3rd, 2017. Please call the roll.
Mayor Kus?
Here.
Mr. Fritzen?
Here.
Mr. Preston is not here. Mr. McBride?
Here.
Mrs. Lorenz? Here. Mr. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Gaines? Here.
We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've had one request to speak to the council tonight. Mr. Fansler made that request.
Doug Fansler, I live at 307 Carriage Hills Road. I have one question and a couple comments. I want to know why we are paying approximately $20,000 for tree removal at Rivian. Why are the trees suddenly needed to be removed at town expense when they didn't before? And what else are we doing besides grass, cutting, security, and snow removal, which I thought were the three main things? I'd like to understand what else may be coming as future expenses at some time. I'd like to thank you for finally removing the 45-day wait period for the public comment last week. Sorry I was ill last week and not able to be here. That could and should have been done much earlier in the process, in my opinion, and did not have to wait until HB 3626 was proposed by Steve Anderson, and did not need a ruling from the AG office either. I was very disappointed that the AG's other rulings were ignored and continue to be an issue for the normal public comments. I find especially discouraging the comments made by Mr. Day insinuating that the 45-day wait topic was a campaign issue. Excuse me. That issue was raised at various meetings last fall, discussed in a few one-on-one meetings with various council members and some staff, and via email between most council members and some staff. Craig Stimpert and myself worked many of these conversations to try and relay the point that this rule was unique for normal and that it was not something that was needed or should be in place. Mr. Days and the council's refuting and ignoring the AG's rulings on all other counts, other than the 45-day rule, show that they favor the council rather than the citizens. As you will see after the election is over, these other topics were not just a campaign issue. They are a problem now and still will be after the election. I would like to encourage all citizens to vote tomorrow. Your civic duty is always important with all elections, and even more so with local elections. Please vote. Thank you.
We begin with the omnibus agenda, items considered routine in nature, unless a council member would like to pull an item for discussion. I would like to be excused from voting on any bills I may have incurred in my duties as mayor. Mr. Fritzen?
Yeah, I'll pull the Reinhardt invoices that Mr. Fansler referred to in regard to Rivian for explanation, please. They're on page 1 of the bills. Approval.
Second.
The Reinhardt,
Oh, the bill.
the bills that Mr.
thank you.
Fansler
So
wanted some information on.
we have a motion and a second. Items we're considering are approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 20th, 2017, approval of town of normal expenditures for payment as of March 29th, 2017, a resolution waiving formal bids and authorizing a contract with Musco Lighting of Oskaloosa, Iowa to perform a relamp and upgrade of lamp controls on existing lights at the athletic fields at Champion Fields, and that's in an amount not to exceed $46,500. A resolution to waive the formal bid process, excuse me, and accept a quote from O'Brien Mitsubishi of Normal, the fleet purchasing program in the amount of $20,409.15 for a 2017 Outlander for the engineering department. A resolution waiving the formal bid process and authorizing an agreement with Henson Disposal of Bloomington, Illinois for the processing of recyclable residential construction, demolition, and bulky waste collected by the town of Normal. A resolution to appropriate $270,250 of the town's allotment of motor fuel tax funds for sidewalk improvements on Beach Street, Fell Avenue, and University Street. And a conditional resolution partially approving the final plat of the Evergreen PUD Second Edition subdivision. Please call the roll.
Mr. Fritzen?
Aye.
Mr. Preston?
Aye.
Mr. McBride?
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz?
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy?
Aye.
Ms. Gaines?
Aye.
Mayor Kus?
Aye. The omnibus agenda is approved, and Mr. Pritzen has pulled the bills.
Yes, I'd move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Fritzen.
Yeah, in particular, Mr. Fansler questioned the one about tree removal. There are 3 bills there for Reinhardt. I know we have contracted with them to perform some of the services that we agreed to provide for Rivian.
Yes.
The timing on the tree removal, is that explanation of that?
Yeah, it was planned, in accordance with the project development agreement that the town entered into with Rivian Automotive, the town agreed for a period of 2 years to assist, in some cases, undertake some services for the company. One was mowing services, snow and ice control, providing some supplemental security, building security, as well as landscape maintenance. And landscape maintenance was defined as helping them to maintain existing landscaping. It doesn't mean any new plantings, helping to maintain existing landscaping, and it was specifically noted by Rivian that there was a lot of landscape material that was dead or dying that needed to be removed. We engaged Reinhardt, Reinhardt Landscape Services.
Grounds maintenance. is what
Grounds
it says
maintenance
here, yeah.
to, and they had actually been under contract with the previous owner, Maynard's, to perform similar services. So they're providing at this point, all of the snow and ice control, which of course, since the plant was acquired by Rivian, that has been minimal this year. I think there's been only a couple of times where they've responded with some snow and ice control work. And we did meet with both Rivian and Reinhardt to talk about tree removal. There were, I can't remember the exact number, between 200 and 300, I think closer to 300 trees that were dead on the property, mostly ash trees that needed to be removed. Reinhardt did that with, under this contract for $19,000. That was that particular engagement, and we understood that going in, that they were going to do that as soon as they could get to it, and they did clear a lot. There were some shrubs and things, but it was mostly trees that they eliminated. They also did some cleanup around the entrance of the facility, which again had been largely untouched for a couple of years in advance of the major ribbon cutting or the governor's visit, which we directed them to do. And again, that was kind of managing the existing landscape material. So they also have done some rough cut mowing in some of the areas where they were getting fairly weedy. There are a number of areas around the plant that Rivian proposes to leave in a kind of a natural prairie state, but they will require occasional mowing just to knock the weeds down. And they're trying to minimize the areas around the plant that will actually require finish mowing, but there will be some of those areas once, of course, weather dictates that kind of mowing services. And up to this point, we've not provided any significant additional security other than we've asked the police department to kind of step up routine patrols in that area, which they have done. That has not resulted in any cost to the town.
Well, if there's anywhere, I mean, you weren't sure of the exact number of trees, but even if it was the lower number,
Yeah.
that's a pretty low cost per tree for tree removal. I've a lot of tree removal going on in the community, a lot of people making some money on tree removal. They're making a whole lot more
Yeah.
than $100 a tree.
I was very pleased with that quote when they delivered it and felt it was very reasonable.
Thank you.
Further on the bills? Please call the roll.
Mr. Preston?
Aye.
Mr. McBride?
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz?
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy?
Aye.
Ms. Gaines?
Aye.
Mr. Fritzen?
Aye.
Mayor Kus?
Aye. The bills are approved. We have no items of general orders tonight, and under new business, we do have a presentation to Town Council on building an autism-friendly community in McLean County. So, come on up.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Carrie Sandhaus, and I am Vice President of Adult Programs for Autism McLean, and I have with me Chuck Hartzell, also on the Autism McLean board. And we both are on a committee called Autism Friendly Community. A year ago, Autism McLean and Mark First partnered together to initiate and launch the Autism Friendly Community campaign. And we were grateful to local government support and the success of our public kickoff that we had in a celebration in the Uptown Circle in spring of 2016. So we come to you today with an update on our progress. We've spoken to numerous groups, begun identifying businesses and organizations who are autism friendly, and conducted awareness-raising activities. And our partner, Mark First, has implemented an award-winning employment program with Country Financial. We're here today because we've recently completed a major planning document at the request of the McLean County Regional Planning Commission, and you have that document in your documents for this meeting. Autism McLean and Mark First put this white paper together. It's called Building an Autism-Friendly Community in McLean County. The paper explores 6 themes looking at the current status and needs of individuals with autism from the perspective of education, employment, housing and transportation, medical, healthcare, and recreation. And we begin with a section called Welcome Me that sets the tone for it, which invites our local community to further its current efforts of autism awareness, and while fostering an environment where people with autism and their families feel welcome and included as participating citizens. We work to provide a succinct document, so only 2 pages per theme, describing the spectrum of needs that currently exist, what currently exists locally to address those needs, and then what future opportunities we could identify to meet those unmet needs. We believe this paper provides a foundation for an attainable vision for our local community. Becoming more autism friendly not only helps people with autism, but also other sectors of the population, people with disabilities, the elderly, families with children, and the community at large.
And these include opening broader access and transition to employment, ensuring educational opportunities, that our medical community and first responders understand people on the autism spectrum, that housing is affordable and available, that transportation can safely bring people to work, shop, and play, and also that recreational opportunities are tailored to the unique needs of people with autism. As you do your planning as a part of the local government, we hope you will read the white paper carefully, and it spurs you to think about specific steps you can take to further this initiative and enable the town of Normal to become more autism friendly. The Normal Public Library already has been offering programs and available space to us for different programs for youth and adults with autism, and that's an example of the kinds of things that can be done. We've had an excellent working relationship with the Children's Discovery Museum and things they've worked with us on when we do our spring and fall kinds of events. They'll open the facility to us for that. The white paper is in your packet for this meeting, as Carrie said earlier, and as you work with others to plan our community's future, we hope the white paper will inform your thinking and processes. Please feel free to contact us with any ideas you may have to offer, or if you have questions or need additional input. We thank you for your support, look forward to continuing to work together to meet our future needs, and ensure that the town of Normal becomes a more truly autism-friendly community. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions or comments?
Not necessarily for you per se, but with the police department, do we still have the registry actively up and going?
I believe so.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
families can register, so if someone needs to come to your house, the police understand, or the firefighters, or anyone, that responses may not be necessarily the norm.
Yes.
But also the way first responders actually approach a home may not necessarily be in the norm also. They need to understand it. And that's why that registry is so wonderful, because that gets put out there.
Yeah, that's an excellent resource, and certainly one that we like to promote and see
Right.
broadened in terms
Right.
of awareness for people to participate, because just knowing if somebody has autism flags that first responder to be able to know that they may not react in the same way as they might expect somebody else to respond.
So is your organization helping to do any training then for the first responders, per se?
Yes, we've actually done a couple of trainings already in Normal for first responders.
Okay, great.
And we're more than interested in bringing back, we use a gentleman named Dennis DeBolt, who was a former police officer and has a son with autism, and he does this on a national basis and comes in and really is able to work with first responders as to how to respond and appropriately interact with an individual with autism. And so we haven't done it in a few years, but we're more than willing to bring him back.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Question for you in regards to, are there other cities, communities that are good examples for us to look at as far as being autism-friendly? I see throughout the paper where you talk about unmet needs. I'd be kind of curious to know maybe how other communities are achieving some of those milestones.
I think, I couldn't cite specific cities, but, because we actually kind of brainstormed this ourselves, but
Okay.
it doesn't mean there aren't, and I'm sure
Okay.
there are some others.
Okay.
But I can say that there are some, there's work being done in the area of parks, public spaces to make them more disability-friendly.
Okay.
And in doing things like providing fencing, which in a children's play area would help with, for families who have children with autism who are prone to wander. But if you know anyone with children who might be prone to wander, besides being on the autism spectrum, that can be a help to other families who have children in a play area as well.
So
So that would be an
really-
example of thinking about what's a simple thing that could be done that would provide for more than just this particular population, but really does meet some of the needs for that population.
So what I'm hearing then is this white paper and the ideas you're putting forth here is rather forward-thinking in the sense that maybe there isn't another such compilation of needs and desires that, I mean, maybe this is something that could be published on a
Thank you.
regional or national level. So, well done. Thank you.
Thanks. I know that the Peoria, an autism organization over there has liked our Facebook page, where we have the Autism Friendly Community has a Facebook page, and we've
Okay.
published the paper. We published the paper on our website, which is autismfriendly.community. And so I know that others in the region have been looking at this.
Interesting. Very good. Thanks.
I've attended some of the events that this organization has done over the last year or two, and bringing awareness to the community. And, you know, sometimes when you look for best practices, they may be happening in your
Right
own
here.
community.
Yeah.
Mr. McBride.
That's not really a question, just a couple of comments. First of all, and I know we're not the only intended audience here, but thank you for putting this together. You know, a number of things struck me going through it, including, you know, sometimes it's good just to have an inventory or an audit of what's going on in our own community as it pertains to any specific issue. And, you know, I think I have a pretty good handle of what's happening in our community, but it really was impressive to see just how many agencies are chipping in and doing good work when they can. And it also serves as a reminder that in a community, I think, that is forward-thinking and it is as welcoming as what Bloomington Normal, McLean County is, that there's still plenty of work to be done. So I appreciated the report, and I appreciate the format of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Preston?
Yep. Not a question for me either, just a thank you. Thank you for bringing this to us, and also for what you guys are doing with the organization. As you may or may not know, my mother spent her career as an early childhood special ed teacher.
Super.
And found a passion and committed her life to that. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity and the inclusiveness and educational aspect that you guys are bringing to members of our community. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for coming tonight and talking with us about it.
Thank you, Scott.
Mr. McCarthy?
I just wanted to add a thanks as well, not too differently than Mr. Preston. My better half is an early learning special ed teacher who I just found out that Chuck knows well just before this meeting. And when this topic came up, she was obviously pretty interested to hear, and that we're bringing to light an increasingly large need in our community for us to take a minute to step back and consider how we plan and what we do, and how we can, and as we're making changes and progressing as a community, as we can incorporate your ideas. So thanks for your leadership, and thanks for coming to us.
One of the reasons that it is so new is that autism really has grown significantly over time. And at this point in time, it's a number of the individuals are now reaching adulthood. And so they are becoming young adults and looking to what they can do and where they can live and that kind of thing. And in numbers, today it's 1 in 68. I was a former director of special education. When I first started, it was 1 in 10,000 29 years ago. And so that population is now coming into adulthood and going to have a larger impact in our community and societies. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us and present the information to you.
Yeah, as Chuck said, it's a 600% increase is what the CDC says over 2 decades on the incidence of autism, and the fact that services end at high school. So once the school bus comes no longer, what does a parent do? What does an individual do as they go into adulthood? And you think about the lifespan needs of individuals with autism and that growing number. So it really is, they are people who are with us, among us, and will be a part of, and also besides the idea of serving the needs, they are a population who bring particular characteristics that are of benefit to businesses. Individuals with autism have really keen abilities with regards to seeing anomalies. They love structure and rules, and I mean, many of them are great at coding or at finding the errors in codes or proofreading. So the whole possibilities of employment or how we use those individuals, and in a community which is future thinking, which is also technology thinking, forward thinking, that is a population that we could promote to employers who have much to bring to for the opportunity in terms of business benefits and community benefit.
Excellent.
Mr. Fritzen?
Yeah, I wonder if you could give me an idea of the makeup of your group and how you fit together, because I know you mentioned in here how often the volunteers and people are involved are stretched thin and the like, and you obviously, and Mr. McBride, I think, was referring to this, your appendix here with listing all these different agencies, and so you're not just creating another group of people who are interested in doing something, you're obviously trying to pull together the resources we have and identify things to help send people in the right place for the right kind of help. But there's a list of names here, some of which I recognize, but what's your investment here, and who's in your group? And I'm familiar with Chuck and his background, but how you've come together and how you're going to not be spread thin to try to get this stuff accomplished, I guess, is one of the things I'm looking for.
Thank you for that question. Autism McLean has been around since 2002. Jackie Mace had actually founded the organization, and so it is it's an organization that's primarily run by parents and then other individuals who are interested in supporting autism. So it's an entirely volunteer organization. Mark First, I'm sure you're familiar with them, and Laura Furlong would have been here with us today, but she had another responsibility this evening. So I think we're very different organizations in that that Mark First is providing services, and they have a staff, and Autism McLean is much smaller, and we're all volunteers. volunteer. We're a parent advocacy organization, or at least we started in that way. But what we, I think you're astute in noting at the back of that document where we are trying to identify the variety of organizations and institutions that do touch upon contributing to being autism friendly or contributing to autism services. So it was important to us to actually just partner with others in doing this, and so that's where we partnered with with Mark First to get this started. But like, we have a small board, and we have this is basically a committee that is just trying to pull in other partners to collaborate. And so, like yesterday, no, it was Saturday, we presented at the Normal Public Library the fact that the library is offering an autism cafe, which gives a monthly social space to individuals, adults with autism, to meet and have a space there. They had asked us about doing a presentation there. So just being able to, intersect with other groups and not reproduce something that already exists, but really promote each other's services and make stronger that way.
We have another representative with us, Emmanuel Gomez. And then Linda Kuntz is with Illinois Wesleyan University, and Nikki Mikulek is with ISU. And they have both come on and worked with us over time in regard to that. And so,
Mr. McBride?
Just a follow-up question when you were talking about employment and the increasing number of this population. If memory serves me when I was reading this, 7% is our employment placement compared to maybe 25% being the national average. So that stuck out. Would you characterize that as a capacity issue? Is that an awareness issue? Maybe all of the above? How can we do better?
It has changed over time, but again, part of it is a protected class status and employers being shy of the legal liabilities and things they would have to have in regard to that, and extensive modifications they might have to do to their place to accommodate individuals with autism and what they can do. And again, it being the most individualistic disability that exists, in that if you've met one individual with autism, you have met one individual with autism, and they have a variety of needs. And so I think there's been a reluctance on the part of businesses, because one of the key areas for individuals with autism is social interaction and an inability to be able to develop interpersonal skills and do some of those things that are necessary in certain jobs. And so it makes it more difficult for them to become employed. And so it just doing some job matching and providing supports and different things of that nature. But it's come a long way in a period of time.
Yeah, Mark First has done some very innovative things with, like with Country Financial, they have an internship to work model, which circumvents some of the typical barriers to employment for an individual with autism. Because if you think about the fact that most of us, if you go for a job, you're going to have to submit a resume, you're going to have to go through an interview, you're going to have to advocate for yourself in ways that is actually a skill set in and of itself. It's not just that I could do the job, but I have to be able to speak about how I can do that job, and that can be very difficult and intimidating for a person with autism. So they have an internship program that enables an individual to work for, and I don't remember the time span it is now, whether it is a 3-month or a 9-week or something, but there's a time span for the internship in which they're placed and they're supported by job coaches. And then it's a win-win situation with the employer, where they can choose to employ that person thereafter, because they actually get to see what that individual can do. They ease into the position with the job coach, and then the job coach can gradually ease out of that role as that individual gains more independence. And there's been that particular program was honored by in Illinois Job Honors. I wish I had brought you the link to it, but I can send that for recognizing what that program accomplishes or what it's able to do. That's a different model for gaining employment that gets around what is often one of the most typical hurdles.
Interesting. Thank you.
And the economy.
Sure.
Ms. Gaines?
Well, I'm just thinking also it often can be tough for families to actually get their child diagnosed. And where do they go? And let's say, they're 14 now, and they always know there's something that's never necessarily been diagnosed, and trying to find the right facilities that can do that, and then to try to be able to afford it. It's a whole other thing. So, I've had clients who've come in and they're in their 30s, and they've never been diagnosed with Asperger's, but we figured that out, and that's why they've been having trouble with their jobs and all of those kinds of things. So, a couple things I'm thinking is, one is, maybe this is an opportunity too for the health department with some of the mental health funds that they're looking for some innovative programming to be trying to work in tandem with them with some ideas of this and how to do that. But then also just, it is just an issue for, where are the services? Where are the services? There's a couple of places, but they're so full, trying to get someone in, it's nearly impossible at times for a long period of time. And then if the families don't have good insurance or they don't have a lot of money, it's how do you follow through on all the treatment? Because they can, folks with this disability can really become very high functioning in many cases. And, it's just such a shame to think that we're going to have them in our community and not be serving them the way they should. So I just want to throw that out there. You probably already talked with them about it, but I just want to throw that out there.
That's a great idea, and it would be nice to have a comprehensive disability directory of local services that spans, including autism, but I could see that that could be just knowing what to access. Even though there's not enough, to serve everybody who's there, but at least to know where to start. We often get individuals reaching out to, they hear of Autism McLean, and they're like, where do I start to get a diagnosis? Where do I start to, find a dentist who is autism friendly, or, things like that.
We are very fortunate, though, to live here and to have the community that we have, and the services and supports that we do have. We really have, for mid-state Illinois, we really are a nice bright spot in that regard. I travel to some other communities and they don't have the same array of services, or they don't have those services available to them. And so that we have that wealth of services, although, as you said, Mr. Murad, there's still a need to improve on some of that, but we're very fortunate that we do have a forward-thinking area and that we're really working towards that.
The other thing I keep thinking is I've had some clients that are into their adult years, beyond the 20-something, and they're lonesome. They are so lonesome, and yet trying to make friends with people who don't understand autism, whether you're low level, on the spectrum, or clear at the other end. But so something where, it sounds like they're having some social events, but I just think, somehow, and I've talked with one of my clients, if I, that maybe eventually one of the things we could do is start having them where you get 3, maybe 4, can't overwhelm, but where they go to the movies together and then go to Steak and Shake or do something like that, just so they can feel like they have some social interaction besides their parents and their siblings.
We have a young man who puts together a once-a-month social calendar for him and friends, and they go out and they eat, they go bowling, they do different activities, and the age range is probably 18 to 35, and so, but that he wants to do that, and so he'll get on Facebook and do all the invitations and do all the things that he needs to do, but the places that we've gone to are very accommodating in that way, but there's still that great need for how do you get other individuals who are socially awkward together, or to come out and do those kinds of things. And that's one of the things that, again, we've been trying to do for a period of time, and Wesleyan has a program where they bring a number of individuals together.
Yeah, Illinois Wesleyan has had a peer social group for, oh goodness, I'm thinking it's 12, 15 years now. And Dr. Linda Kuntz has organized that, and Dr. Virginia Moody. They pair up students with individuals on the autism spectrum to do social activities together. But again, that's, a small group, so,
Right, right.
But a good model.
Further comments? Thank you,
Thank you.
and good luck.
Thank you again for
Yeah.
your
Going
time.
forward.
Thank you
Greatly
very much
appreciate
for your
it.
time. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And we're open to any further questions or suggestions thereafter, too.
Thank you.
Before taking a motion for adjournment, are there comments or concerns? Hearing none? A
So
motion for
move we
adjournment?
adjourn.
Thank you.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Mr. McBride?
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz?
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy?
Aye.
Ms. Gaines?
Aye.
Mr. Fritzen?
Aye.
Mr. Preston?
Aye.
Mayor Kus?
Aye, we're adjourned.